Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, and we have a lot to talk about today. Modern Horizons 2 obviously has shaken up the secondary market. It really has changed the Modern format. That's what you see most clearly and obviously as you go through the cards today. But it's also impacting other formats as well, Commander being a prime one. We'll get into all those details in just a few moments. Remember, as we go through the video today, though, I'll be mentioning the names of a lot of Modern decks, even some decks from Vintage and Legacy. And even though some of those names might sound familiar, they are different decks now with cards from Modern Horizons 2. So it is going to take a little time for these metas to settle down and figure out what is best now. And while that is happening, more cards are going to be going up and down in value, no doubt. Quickly before we get into it, though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Adventures in the Forgotten Realms products there. You can also pick up Modern Horizons 2 products, or any number of other things that you will find on their website. Remember, orders over $100, or if your order only consists of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, when you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with the standard legal spotlight. A couple things of note before we talk about these cards, though. Again, we have a $2 threshold in this video. We're not going to discuss any cards that are moving less than $2 up or down. Also, we're not going to talk about those cards that have been severely market manipulated, things like Chulane Teller of Tales from the list, Cryptic Command from the list, Denizen of the Deep from Portal Second Age. We've talked about these cards in the past. You know what's going on. If there's any significant changes, I'll let you know. And I'm happy to say in this video, we are adding Modern Horizons 2 cards, so we will see some of those today. I'm not going to talk about cards, though, that were added to the list with Modern Horizons 2. They're still trying to find their price point and are very turbulent. So let's see what's happening with Standard right now. Our first card is Expressive Iteration. This goes up 287 this week to 768. You're going to find this in Standard, Prismari Midrange, Jeskai Tempo, and more. Pioneer, it's an Is It Prowess, and more there. But the real reason this card's moving as much as it is right now is the Modern format, and because of that shakeup I mentioned at the top of the video. It's in some pretty big decks there. Is It Blitz, Is It Delver, and more. Legacy, you'll find this in Is It Delver there too, and other decks in that format as well. Additionally, this is seeing a lot of Commander play in Veyran Voice of Duality, and a whole lot of other builds, including a new one around a Modern Horizons 2 card that is Yusri Fortune's Flame. Shimmer Dragon is next. You can find one of these in the Fairy Schemes Throne of Eldraine Brawl deck. This goes up 358 this week to 858. It is a solid Commander card, seeing more play now and builds around Lannis Cryptozoologist for Modern Horizons 2. And that takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Again, we're going to be looking at cards that are Pioneer Legal that are seeing the most movement this week, starting with cards that are losing value. First, we have Elenda, The Dusk Grows. This is the copy from the list that was added with Strixhaven. And of course, with Modern Horizons 2 just being released, there are more copies of this getting into circulation. It is still on the list. It goes down 229 this week to 2509. Even though it is losing value, it is a solid Commander card in Alper Markov and much more. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria from Where Else Dominaria. This goes down 258 to 3581. You'll find this one in Pioneer Control builds, taking turns. But again, let's talk about Modern. This is in Modern Control builds as well, and of course, they are getting a little push because of Modern Horizons 2 cards. Things like Counterspell now becoming legal in Modern because of its reprinting in that set. So far, results of those decks have been solid, but it does look like more players are gravitating to some different builds, which is why this is going down a little bit this week. Again, it's still early to know how good the control decks are going to be in this new meta, but time will tell. This also does see Commander play too and attracts the Praetor's Voice and much more. Next we have Breeding Pool, the original copy from Dissension, down 266 to 3525. Now remember, the shock lands are all being reprinted in those Culture Shock secret layers, so these more expensive copies are a little soft right now. Regardless, this is still a huge mana-based card in Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, this goes down 299 to 6742, continues to retract after some recent increases. In Pioneer, you'll still find this in Mono Green Ramp. Modern, it's in Eldrazi Tron and Tron, which did get a little boost from Modern Horizons 2 in the form of Urza Saga, but not a lot of other new cards in those particular builds right now. Legacy, you'll find this one in Mono Green Cloudpost. Commander, it's in Kozilek the Great Distortion, and more. Another Dissension Shockland going down in value. This is Blood Crypt. It goes down 344 to 35.48. Emrakul, The Promised End. It goes down 368 this week to $40.92. This is seeing a tad bit of modern play, but really not all that much right now. It does see Commander playing Kozilek the Great Distortion and more. Darksteel Forge, that Plane Chase copy, which has been going up in value for I think 3 weeks now, finally sees a price correction. It goes down $7.99 to $18. This is a solid Commander card in Oskir the Reconstructor and more. Also, it is getting additional Commander play now in those Zabaz the Glimmerwasp builds. Alright, some cards going up in value. Finale of Devastation up $4.20 this week to $39.61. This is in Modern Devoted Devastation, but now it is showing up in some of the Hell's Kitchen builds too, which is a Golgari Sacrifice deck. This is also getting a lot more Commander play in builds like Chatterfang Squirrel General and Lannis. Eldritch Evolution, this is the one from Mystery Booster. It goes up $4.28 this week to $10. Many times this is in Naya, Winota, and Pioneer. But again, let's talk about Modern. This is in a new Golgari Sacrifice deck there. And this one is actually running Yawgmoth Thran Physician, as well as some Undying cards. We'll talk more about it a little bit later. Beyond that, you can find this in Cat Combo. And this is another card getting additional Commander play in some builds around Lannis and Chatterfang. Blooming Marsh up $5.74 to $14.27 in Pioneer. You'll find this in Jund and Abzan Company. But again, it's all about Modern today. You may have noticed that whenever there's a big change in the meta, many of the lands tend to spike very quickly. And that is because you have a lot of players all at the same time scrambling to build these new decks. When it comes to this particular color combination, it does feel like it could be very strong going forward in the world of Modern. We'll have to kind of see again where things shake out. But currently, there's a lot of decks running 4 copies of this. Some examples include Golgari Sacrifice, that Yawgmoth version. Also the Hell's Kitchen variation. Jund. There's even an Eggs build running around out there running 4 copies of this. Plus, it's in many other builds in the format. And it's in a lot of Commander builds as well, including new ones. Chatterfang, Griss the Hungertide, and Karth the Lion. Mox Amber up $5.81 this week to $44.09. This is in Urza's Kitchen builds, which is a cross between a Urza Lord High Artificer deck and a Sacrifice deck. Also sometimes in those Eggs builds I mentioned. And it has seen increased Commander play too around a new Modern Horizons 2 card, Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. And finally in the section we have one more Kaladesh land, Spire Bluff Canal. It goes up $12.66 to $32. And this is in Pioneer. Is it Phoenix and is it Prowess? But in Modern, you're going to find 4 of these and a lot of builds with new Modern Horizons 2 cards. Things like Blitz, Living End, Is It Delver, Urza's Kitchen, and much more. This is also a great mana-based card in lots of Commander builds, including one we mentioned a little bit ago, Yusri. Additionally, this was in a Command Zone podcast gameplay video. It showed up in a Commander deck that featured Sakashima of 1,000 Faces and Vile Smasher the Fierce as the commanders. And that takes us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. A lot of upheaval today. We're going to look at the Modern cards that are moving the most right now. Later in the video, though, there's going to be some more cards moving because of Modern, so stay tuned. Our first card is Aether Vial from Modern Masters. Now, this spiked last week. This week it does retract. It goes down $4.62 to $59.99. And remember, this was now added to the list with Modern Horizons 2. Granted, it's going to take a little while for copies to circulate, and we'll have to see if it remains on the list after this set. But nevertheless, there are more copies entering the marketplace. In Modern, you'll find this in Humans now running Shardless Agent because that was reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, making it legal in the format. Also, this is in Merfolk, another pretty big deck right now, getting a push from that set. Additionally, you'll find this in Soul Herder, Death and Taxes, Spirits, Goblins, and more. Legacy, this is in Death and Taxes there and other decks as well, and it gets a little bit of Commander play. Wooded Foothills, the original copy from Onslaught, goes down $4.62 this week to $77.43. Maybe a little bit surprising because for the most part, ally fetch lands are going up in value. We're going to see one later in the video, and we won't discuss all the ones going up today just due to time. But just know the ones from Khans as well as the others from Onslaught are trending up to some degree. Maybe surprisingly to some, even some of those enemy fetch lands are going up in value. The Modern Horizons 2 copies, as well as the copies from the Secret Lair Ultimate Edition, for the most part, are trending up to some degree today. Again, we're not going to go into all the details in the interest of time, but just be aware of that. Maybe ultimately that's not super surprising since the Secret Lair Ultimate Edition copies are kind of hard to find, so they do work as indicators as to what's happening in the market. And of course, we already knew that a lot of players are trying to scramble to build decks. The Modern Horizons 2 copies, even though, yes, there's a lot of them getting cracked and into circulation, they do need to find their price point, and they could be going up and down over the next few weeks. But anyway, when it comes to Wooded Foothills, it does see play in various modern, legacy, and vintage decks, as well as a lot of commander builds old and new, as you would expect from a card like this. Cabal Coffers, the copy from Play and Chase, it goes down $5.29 this week to $82.32. This, of course, was reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, making it modern legal, but so far, I have not seen this in too many modern brews, and because of that, this older copy of the card is soft. This is a highly played commander card, though, and commander players that have been waiting to pick this up are going to be very happy about the extra copies in the marketplace. This is getting additional commander play now in builds like Chatterfang and Karth. Auriok Champion, the copy from Fifth Dawn, goes down $6.16 this week to $55.76. Now, this copy, more so than the Iconic Masters copy, was spiking pretty wildly recently, so it's not too surprising to see this go down in value again. Also, too, when it comes to this new modern meta, the card is still seeing a lot of play, but maybe not as much as it was seeing in the previous modern meta. But you will find this in Heliod Company, Humans, Death and Taxes, Orzhov Stoneblade, and more. This also sees a little commander play too. Sanctum Prelate from Conspiracy Take the Crown. It goes down $10.76 this week to $50.74. This was reprinted as the Modern Horizons 2 Buy a Box promo, making it modern legal. And when that news came out, a lot of people started picking up this card in anticipation of it seeing a lot of play in Modern. Well, how is that panning out? It's seeing some play in Modern, but maybe not as much as some people thought, at least not yet. Now, it is showing up, at least in some variations of builds like Humans, Death and Taxes, Jeskai Stoneblade, and more. This continues to see legacy play in Death and Taxes, sometimes Maverick and more there, and also it can get some commander play. And our last card going down in value today is Sliver Legion from Future Sight. It goes down $11.21 to $69.73. This was reprinted in Time Spiral Remastered, which is why this copy has been so soft. It has really lost a lot of value over the last few months. In Commander, this can be a commander for a Sliver deck, or it can be part of the 99. Alright, here's the first card going up in value, and it is a card from Modern Horizons 2. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer goes up $10.71 to $69.99. So for the most part, because it's a new set and a lot of packs are being cracked, most Modern Horizons 2 cards are going down in value or staying steady. This felt especially drastic with this particular set because a lot of cards had very high prices during the pre-release time period. And I think that was due to all the hype about people trying to guess how the modern meta was going to shift. And a lot of people had a lot of different ideas, so many cards stayed high for a while. Now with cards in circulation and the meta is starting to get figured out at least a little bit, we are seeing most cards going down pretty dramatically. This one, though, was overlooked during that pre-release season as a powerful card, and it turns out this is a very powerful card. It's showing up in a lot of different places. In Modern, you'll see this in Izzet Spells, Jeskai Stoneblade, Urza's Kitchen, and much more. Legacy, it's in Izzet Delver and more there. This is quickly becoming a very popular commander too, and is in the 99 of a lot of builds as well. Next we have Mishra's Bauble, and this is showing up as a 4-of in countless Modern decks right now in this new meta. It was a huge Modern card before, but again, with everybody trying to put together decks at the same time, this has really skyrocketed, at least in the short term. There's a lot of people that have copies of this in their binders or in boxes. I'm sure there's stores that have extra copies that they haven't posted online yet. So I would expect some backlash when it comes to this card in a week or two, but at least right now it is going up in value pretty dramatically. Some examples of decks where you will find 4 copies of this are Urza's Kitchen, Blitz, Dimir Rogues, Grixis Death Shadow, Izzet Delver, and much more. Beyond Modern, this also does see some Legacy play too, and it's a popular commander card in Oscar the Reconstructor and much more. Iconic Masters goes up $7.04 this week to $20. Mystery Booster up $8.66 to $20.94. Double Masters up $8.95 to $19.99. And Cold Snap goes up $11.87 to $35. Liliana of the Veil, the copy from Modern Masters 2017, has been a little soft recently, rebounding this week up $14.07 to $104.99. Now, this is in Modern Jund, Rakdos Midrange, and more. Also, this gets a little Legacy play. Plus, it is getting additional commander play now in Karth and Grist. And here's that other ally fetch land I mentioned. This is Windswept Heath from Onslaught. It goes up 16-17 this week to 76.90. And of course, this is a huge mana-based card in decks old and new, in Modern, Legacy, Commander. This also was in a Command Zone podcast gameplay video this week. It showed up in an Atlaplani Nest Tender build. Geralf's Messenger. Wow, this is jumping up $20.79 this week to $34.49. Yet to be reprinted. That's a big reason why it's jumping as much as it is. But you will find this in that Yawgmoth Golgari Sacrifice deck I mentioned earlier. This is in that deck with cards that it can combo with. Yawgmoth Thran Physician, of course. Strangleroot Geist is in there too. Young Wolf and more. And of course, this new popular modern build is what's putting attention on the card this week. This is also in many Yawgmoth Thran Physician Commander builds and other decks in that format too. And finally in this section, we have Stoneforge Mystic. World Weight goes up $21.27 to $75. Double Masters goes up $24.15 to $72.45. When it comes to Modern, Stoneblade builds are getting a push from cards in Modern Horizons 2. The Orzhov one is especially doing well currently, but this is also in Death and Taxes, Hammer Time, and more. Legacy, you'll find this in Death and Taxes, Maverick, and more there. And it does get a good amount of Commander play in Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist / Rogue Rock, Son of Rogue God builds, and more. Plus, beyond that, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week, which could have brought some more attention to it too. Alright, that brings us to the Vintage Spotlight. And again, there's a lot of market manipulation out there when it comes to hard to find cards in good condition online. So be careful if you are shopping for vintage cards. Also too, remember there's more and more cards being graded, especially from those older sets. So when you see a value on one of those price tracking websites, there's a good chance that value is in between a high grade raw copy and a high grade graded copy. When it comes to this section of the video, the prices you're going to see are very similar to what you might see on one of those price tracking websites. But if the price is not falling in the middle when it comes to these older cards, I will let you know if it's trending more towards a high grade raw or high grade graded copy, or if there's market manipulation for a particular card. I'll point that out too. So let's see what's happening in the vintage market. We'll start off with Urza's Avenger from Antiquities, up $11.40 this week to $98. And we have been seeing this trend for a while now. It doesn't matter if these old cards are not on the reserve list. There are collectors that want these in high grade. They want to send them off to get graded. And in some cases, they want to sell them back to you at a higher price. Here's Piety from Arabian Nights. It is the B variation though, so you can see in the upper right hand corner, the casting cost is easier to read. This one goes up $13.01 this week to $34.99. Argothian Enchantress, and there is a Legacy Enchantress build that's getting a push from Modern Horizons 2 cards. Also, this is getting more Commander play now and builds around one of those cards, Sithis Harvest's Hand. Urza Saga, that copy goes up $12.90 this week to $44.87. Eternal Masters goes up $13.50 to $39.99. Desert Twister from Arabian Nights, that original copy, it goes up $14.46 to $60.04. Knowledge Vault up $15 to $114.99. The revised copy of Volcanic Island goes up $15 to $880. Verduran Enchantress from Unlimited, yet another Enchantress. This goes up $18.50 this week to $87.25. Solkanar of the Swamp King. This is the one from Legends, up $18.60 to $112. Tundra from Revised, up $21.06 to $571.65. Falling Star goes up $25.82 to $275.99. Fungasaur from Unlimited, it goes up $28.50 to $44.43. Death Grip, also from Unlimited, up $45.66 to $96.75. Flying Carpet, the original from Arabian Nights, up $58.44 to $124.82. Aladdin's Ring from Arabian Nights, again, that original copy. Now, in theory, this is going up $145.50 to $495.50. But in reality, if you look at high-grade raw copies, they're selling for about $200. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while, though. Next time one does sell, it will be for quite a bit more than the previous time, I'm sure. Will it be $495.50? Maybe not quite that high, though. We'll have to see. This could be a situation where you have sellers just trying to fish for an offer and putting their price just a little higher than maybe it should be. Now, that isn't really malicious market manipulation, but it can throw off the data a little bit on those price tracking websites. Navineral's Disc from Unlimited, pretty much the same story here. It goes up in theory $313.76 to $498.50. High-grade raw copies can sell for close to $200. I haven't seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while. Tropical Island, the revised copy, goes up $11.08 to $796.47. The unlimited copy, in theory, going up $499.50 to $1,799.50. Is that one for real? Well, yeah, when it comes to reality, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for about $1,500 to $1,600. Stands to reason next time a high-grade graded copy sells, it will most likely go for more than this. And finally in this section, Island of Wak Wak. This goes up $960.77 in theory to $1,768.49. Is that for real? Well, no, not really. There is market manipulation attached to this one. It is still going up in value when you compare it to just a few weeks ago. High-grade raw copies will sell between $320 and $360, and those high-grade graded copies can now break about $900. Alright, that brings us to the best of the rest, and normally I call this the Commander Spotlight, but things are a little different right now in the environment. We are going to see a lot of Commander cards in this section. You could argue that almost all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, but because Modern and even Legacy are very popular right now as people are looking to create new decks with the Modern Horizons 2 cards, there is at least some influence from other formats on a number of these cards this week. So let's see what's happening here. Here's a Modern Horizons 2 card, Sword of Hearth and Home. It goes up 201 this week to 2740. This is showing up in a lot of Commander builds, including the popular Ragavan decks. Plus, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Twilight Mire from Eventide up 205 this week to 1462. This is part of the mana base for that Yawgmoth Sacrifice build we discussed earlier. Also, this is a big Commander mana base card. You'll find this in a lot of new builds as well, like Chatterfang, Karth, and Grist. Earthcraft, it goes up 205 to 199.99. This has seen increased Commander play in Chatterfang. It does play well with Squirrel Nest in that build. Also, this is in some Lannis and Sithis builds too in the format. Nurturing Peatland. This is another card that gives you black or green. I don't think that's a coincidence. It goes up 207 this week to 1485. Now, this is in a couple of those modern sacrifice builds we've been talking about today. The Yawgmoth one as well as the Hell's Kitchen one. This is also in Jund in that format and much more. Like Twilight Mire, this is a big Commander mana base card as well. Seeing play in some new builds like Chatterfang, Karth, and Grist. Inkmoth Nexus from Mirrodin Besieged. It goes up 208 to 3550 in Modern. This is in Hammer Time, Hardened Scales, Infect, sometimes Affinity. Also in Legacy, you'll find this in Infect there. And it's getting increased Commander play in Zabaz decks. Endurance, another Modern Horizons 2 card, up 215 this week to 2111. This is appearing already in a number of Modern builds, including the Yawgmoth Sacrifice deck. In Legacy, this is already in many Snow Miracles builds and more. And it's getting some Vintage and Commander play too. Elvish Piper, the copy from 9th edition, remains dry this week online. It goes up 217 to 1253. This is a solid Commander card in Mael, the Anima, and more. Also, according to Mark Rosewater, there are going to be some elves and adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which isn't too surprising, but since it now has been officially confirmed, some people might spec on a card like this perhaps. Remember though, he did not say anything about strong elf tribal synergies, just that there's going to be some cards with the creature type elf. Cryptic Command, that iconic Master's copy, which usually lags behind a little bit, jumps up 218 this week to 29.90. Remember, the copy from the list, which left after Zendikar Rising, be very careful, that is being egregiously market manipulated right now, like I mentioned earlier in the video. Stay away from that one. But this one does creep up. It is in Modern Control builds, Crashing Footfalls, Jeskai Stoneblade, and more. This is also in a number of Commander decks, including Urza Lord High Artificer. Season of the Witch. A few reserve list cards from the Dark are moving up again. This is one of them. It goes up 221 to 59.49. And all those cards do see at least a little Commander play, but I do feel like they're moving because of their reserve list status more than anything. Nature's Cloak. The Portal copy stays dry online, going up 234 to 11.17. This does see a little more Commander play now because of a card from Modern Horizons 2, Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Sword of Feast and Famine from Mirrodin Besieged. It goes up $236 to $70.52. This can appear in some of those Modern Stoneblade builds. Most frequently, you see this one in the Jeskai build. Also, it's getting more Commander play now in Ragavan decks. Plus, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Carpet of Flowers, the one from Mystery Booster, goes up $237 to $33.28. This continues to be a popular option in Legacy, and this is seeing increased Commander play now in Sithis and Garth One-Eye. Liege of the Hollows. This is jumping again up 252 to 38.32. This is seeing increased Commander play in Chatterfang decks. Black Cleave Cliffs. This is going up 259 this week to 25.32 in Modern. You'll find this in Jund, Rakdos Midrange, and more. This is also getting some additional Commander play now in a build around a Modern Horizons 2 card that is Azmarano, Martika Dyston, a Koldakar. Here's a tough one to say. Tezzeret's Agent of Bolas. I think I got it. It goes up 262 to 1301. This can get a tad bit of modern play, but it is seeing more commander play now in Ragavan builds. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, of course, remember, its partner in crime just got reprinted, Cabal Coffers, but the Ultimate Masters copy goes up 209 to 2757. The Magic 2015 copy goes up 267 to 2613. This is in Pioneer Rakdos Pyromancer, Jon's Sacrifice, and more. Modern, this is in Yawgmoth Sacrifice, Hell's Kitchen, and more. This also gets Legacy and Vintage play, plus it is a big commander card, seeing more play now in Chatterfang and Karth decks. The Worldwake copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor goes up 270 this week to 8359. This is in Modern Control builds, Jeskai Stoneblade, Crashing Footfalls, and more. In Legacy, this is in Snow Miracles and more there. And it is a popular commander card in Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, and other decks there too. Utopia Sprawl, Dissension up 264 to 1610. Masters 25 up 280 to 1698. Modern decks will run this like Nivta Light, Heliad Company, Enchantress, Gruul Midrange, and more. Legacy, you'll find this in Enchantress there too. Very popular commander card, seeing more play in builds like Sithis, Ave, Progenitor Ooze, and Chatterfang. Necropotence, now this is the one from Deckmasters, Garfield vs. Finkel. This particular copy only comes in foil. It is hard to find online in good condition. It goes up $298 this week to $121. You'll find this in Vintage Doomsday and more. Gets a lot of commander play too in Zur the Enchanter and a lot of other decks there. Wheel of Sun and Moon. I think I see a Shadowmoor card that's yet to be reprinted. It goes up $310 this week to $32.87. Yeah, I'll use my one per video before it's too late. You know, if you watch this series of videos, that this was a time period of Magic when there was a recession in the game. Less packs were cracked, so when there's a little attention on a rare, especially if it's never been reprinted, it can get spiky. So what is bringing attention to this card? Well, it is seeing some increased commander play now in Sithis decks. Grim Monolith. This goes up 310 to 370.14. Many times you'll find this in Legacy Karn Echoes. Also a popular commander card in Combo Enabler. You'll see this one in Urzilard High Artificer and much more there. Mana Vortex. Here's another reserve list card from the Dark, jumping up 319 this week to 61.64. Survival of the Fittest. This goes up 320 to 302.50. This is getting additional commander play in new builds like Lannis and Garth. Sunken Ruins from Shadowmoor. This goes up 354 to 24.45. In Modern, you'll find this one in Inverter, sometimes in Esper Control. These filter lands see the most play, though, of course, in various commander decks. Krosan Beast from Odyssey and other cards seeing increased play in Commander Chatterfang decks. It goes up 362 to 1320. Here's another elf. It is Norwood Priestess. Now, this does see a tad bit of commander play, but really the price is driven by the rarity of this card in good condition right now. Yet to be reprinted, and I do think when it does get reprinted, it could drop a lot. It goes up 369 this week, though, to 137.37. Cauldron Familiar. Throne of Eldraine up 230 this week to 374. Jumpstart up 376 to 511. In Pioneer, you'll see this in Jon's Sacrifice. But again, Modern is the main reason this is moving this week. There are new decks running this. The first one is Hell's Kitchen, which is running this very consistently. Many times there's this kitchen builds too. Additionally, this is also getting more commander play now and builds around a Modern Horizons 2 card. That is Azmarano, Martika Dyston, Akoldakar. Sword of Fire and Ice. The copy from Modern Masters goes up 383 to 59.62. You'll find this one in Modern Stoneblade builds, Death and Taxes. Legacy, it's in Death and Taxes and more there. It is also seeing increased commander play in Ragavan builds. Plus, this got a Command Zone podcast mention this week. Mem Knight. This is the copy from the list. It goes up 396 to 555. This is in Modern Hammer Time, also Affinity. Gets a lot of commander play too in Joyra, whether like Captain builds and much more. Pillar of the Perunes. This goes up 396 to 29.50. In Modern, you'll find this in Nivta Light. This is getting increased commander play now, though, in General Fyrus Rakurik. Also, this might get better in the future if Adventures in the Forgotten Realms really does push the 5-color dragon commander builds. Meltdown. This goes up 429 to 667, another card that's yet to be reprinted. This has seen a little commander play, but now, because of Modern Horizons 2, this is showing up in a lot of Legacy builds, including Izzet Delver. There is a new aggro artifact build in Legacy running many new cards for Modern Horizons 2. Meltdown is a good defensive option against that type of strategy. Knights of Thorn. This goes up 444 to 26.96. Another reserve list card from the Dark that's on the list today. Ren and 6 from Modern Horizons up 448 to 94.99 sees a lot of modern play. It's in Nib to Light, Jund, Scape Shift, Taking Turns, Grill Midrange, and more. Also, this is getting additional commander play now in some Garth builds. Living End. This new modern meta is bringing this card back to life. It is in those new Living End builds, also in new variations of Electro Dominance. Beyond that, it does get a little commander play in Cody Vociferous Codex and more. Time Spiral up 220 to 1017. Time Spiral Remastered up 491 to 1099. Wood Elves, this is the Portal copy at $4.92 to $20.23. Again, this copy continues to be dry online in good condition. It is a huge commander card, seeing more play now in Lannis decks. Urza's Incubator, this is the one from Commander Anthology Volume 2. It goes up $4.94 this week to $46.39. Popular Commander Tribal card in the Dragon and much more. From what we've heard and seen so far, it does appear that Adventures in the Forgotten Realms could have some strong Dragon Tribal synergies. Also, maybe there will be a push for some other tribes like Elves or Goblins, for example. Protean Hulk, this is the original one from Dissension. It goes up $5.43 this week to $19.04. There was a deck list built around this card circulating back during the Modern Horizons 2 previews. Hasn't really panned out so far, though. We'll have to kind of see if that changes. It does still get a lot of commander play, though. This is in Marin of Clan Neltoth decks and much more. Now this is seeing additional play in Chatterfang at times as well. Ashes of the Fallen. This goes up $5.81 to $7.20. Another card that's yet to be reprinted, jumping up quite a bit. This is getting increased commander play in Grist. This card works very well with Grist, and it also works well with Patriarch's Bidding, which was just reprinted in Modern Horizons 2. Dark Slick Shores. This is going up $6.13 this week to $21.56. In Modern, you'll find this in Mill, Ad Nauseam. Many times there's this Kitchen and more. This is in many commander decks too, including the popular Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. Force of Vigor. Now, this is the one from Modern Horizons. It did get a reprinting as a Modern Horizons 1 retro frame card in Modern Horizons 2. But remember, those Modern Horizons 1 retro frames are only found in collector boosters, and they only come in foil and etch foil, so they are a difficult pull, and some players may still want a non-foil copy. This one goes up $6.18 this week to $19.99. This is in a lot of modern builds: Amulet Titan, Golgari Yawgmoth's Sacrifice, many times in Crashing Footfalls, Jund, Hell's Kitchen, and more. Legacy, this is in Hogak and much more there. Vintage, this is in a lot of decks, including a new Hollow One build running cards for Modern Horizons 2. Beyond that, this gets a lot of commander play, and it's getting more play now in Chatterfang, Ave, Lannis, and Karth builds. Lord of Atlantis, you can find this one in Modern and Legacy Merfolk. Modern Horizons 2 cards did push both those decks to some degree, maybe more so the Modern one. This also has seen more commander play and builds around a new card from that set. That is Felon of Sea and Sky. Revised goes up $5.01 this week to $14. 7th edition up $5.68 to $15.88. 6th edition jumps up $6.97 to $14. And finally, 4th edition up $7.25 to $19.12. Temporary Truce, another Portal card, yet to see a reprint. This does get a little bit of commander play, but it is hard to find in good condition online. It goes up $7.33 this week to $24.99. Saproling Symbiosis up $7.36 to $33.24. This is getting increased commander play in Chatterfang. Also, the foil copy of this card is seeing some heavy market manipulation this week. Be careful if you're in the market to purchase one. Sarah's Sanctum, this goes up $7.48 to $361.99. Many times now you'll find this in Legacy Enchantress. This is great in enchantment-heavy commander builds, though, has been for a long time. Seeing more play now in Sithis. Muro Regery, this is the copy from Dual Decks Merfolk vs. Goblins. This, of course, is in the modern Merfolk builds and has seen increased commander play in Svelin. It goes up $7.58 to $13.99. Glimmer Void, 3 copies moving here. Mirrodin up $2.83 to $9.99. Double Masters up $7.04 to $12.88. Modern Masters goes up $7.78 to $14.23. Modern, you'll find this one in Eggs, Affinity, 4-color Wurza, and it is seeing increased commander play now in Zabaz and Garth. Mystical Tutor, this is the copy from the list that was only there during Kel time. It jumps up $7.80 this week to $35.99. This does see a lot of vintage play, plus it is a highly played commander card in a lot of different builds. This was in a Command Zone podcast gameplay video this week. Showed up in that Sakashima Vial Smasher deck I mentioned earlier. Parallel Evolution. Torment goes up $3.66 this week to $9.39. The copy from the list, it goes up $8.57. to 1425. And this is getting increased commander play, and you guessed it, Shatterfang. Alright, here's the card that sees play everywhere. It is Force of Negation from Modern Horizons. This is another card, though, that did get a reprinting as a Modern Horizons 1 Retro Frame card in Modern Horizons 2. But this copy goes up 871 this week to 109.47. Wow. Alright, so first off, this sees a ton of Modern play. It's in Living End, Crashing Footfalls, Azorius Control, Is It Delver, Jeskai Stoneblade, Merfolk, and much more. This is a huge legacy card too. And again, it's in some decks running new cards from Modern Horizons 2. You'll find this one in Is It Delver, Temur Delver, Snow Miracles, and much more there as well. Additionally, this sees a lot of vintage play, including in that new Hollow One build I mentioned earlier. Plus, it gets plenty of commander play, getting more now in Lannis builds. Urza Lord High Artificer from Modern Horizons. This also got a reprint as a Modern Horizons 1 Retro Frame card in Modern Horizons 2. This one goes up $877 to $60. Of course, this is moving because it's part of the new Urza's Kitchen Modern build. Also, it's still in regular Urza there as well. Legacy, you'll find this in Karn Echoes, Vintage Paradoxical Outcome, and it's seeing increased commander play in Lannis. Plus, it's another card that got a Command Zone podcast mention this week. Goblin Wizard, sure, this does see a little commander play, but it is another reserve list card from the Dark going up in value. It is up 880 this week to 165. There could be a leak, though, from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms that could be pushing spec onto this card. If you don't want to hear about the leak, I'm going to give you a few seconds to move to the next card now. Okay, so there was a land leak that can turn into a Goblin for a red and 3. Plus, when it attacks, it makes Goblin tokens that are tapped and attacking. So some people might just be speccing that Goblin Tribal could be a part of that set. Time will tell. Even if it is, doesn't mean this card gets all that much better. Maybe, maybe not, but it is hard to find in good condition online. Sliver Queen, after losing a lot of value, this does rebound slightly this week. This is, of course, the Sliver Lord that is on the reserve list. It goes up $991 to $457.72. Great as your commander for a Sliver deck or part of the 99. Nut Collector from Odyssey. This is now in the list with Modern Horizons 2, but like we said earlier, it is going to take a little time for some of those copies to get circulating. This one goes up $12.04 this week to $62.50. And of course, it is seeing increased commander play in Shatterfang. Another card seeing increased commander play with Shatterfang. It is Acorn Catapult. The list copy goes up $13.05 to $21.93. The commander copy up $14.20 to $20.97. Winds of Change, the Portal copy, still stays dry in the secondary market online. Hard to find this particular one in good condition, of course, but this does feel like a buyout to me. It goes up $18.39 to $80.46. And this does get a good amount of commander play. You'll find this in Nakusar, the Mindraiser, and more. That takes us to the premium spotlight. As I say every week, there's so many premium cards moving across the market, I couldn't possibly cover them all. For example, if you want to do a little homework, you might want to check out the Arena Foil promos. Some of those are spiking this week. But remember, there is still a lot of manipulation out there, so do be careful if you're trying to make a purchase when it comes to some of these rare premium cards. As usual, I like to choose a few premium cards to talk about that are moving because of current events. In other words, not just because of a buyout, or because they became dry in the marketplace, but because there is some kind of tie-in with gameplay or with news. Today, I selected 6 of them. Remember, in this section as well, prices are going to be very similar to what you might see on a price tracking website. If the prices are not accurate compared to the sales I'm seeing, I'll let you know. Spire Bluff Canal, the Kaladesh foil is going up $10.81 to $38.47. The pre-release foil is up $17.23 to $40. Now, in reality, high-grade copies for both of these are selling for about $25, but they are climbing fast, and I could see this being another example of sellers fishing for a price. They could be marking them up a little higher than they think they're going to get, but that way they stay ahead of a potential spike, and at the same time, they'll still sell them for a good offer. Again, not malicious market manipulation, but it can throw off the data a little bit. Nut Collector, the Odyssey foil, up $18.62 to $140. I have seen high-grade copies of this sell for about $90. Again, they are climbing fast, and I do think it is going to be hard to find copies at $90 in the future. Grim Monolith, the Urza's Legacy foil, it goes up just a little bit percentage-wise, $33.55 to $3,008.32.24. And this is a price that is between high-grade raw and high-grade graded copies, but it is closer to a raw copy. Some of the high-grade graded copies have sold for far more than this. This one looks pretty accurate. Giralf's Messenger, this goes up $35.24 to $56. Of course, this is the foil from Dark Ascension, the only foil. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. Yes, even the specialty copies of this are going up. Here's what we're seeing. Borderless, up $14.34 to $74.99. The regular Modern Horizons 2 foil, up $24.51 to $125. The borderless foil, up $28.47 to $157.98. And the pre-release foil, up $39.04 to $139.97. That one has a 2021 stamp in the bottom left-hand corner of the art. Couldn't find a good picture of that, unfortunately, to put on the screen for you, though. Now, when it comes to true sales, these prices are all just above what people have been paying for the card. Again, it feels like the cheaper copies are drying up, and the price may continue to creep up at least a little bit. And finally, the foil copy of Ashes of the Fallen from Survivors of Kamigawa goes up $56.80 to $65 in theory. The highest sales I've seen for this are about $11 to $12. However, there's not a lot of them out there, and now that the non-foil copy spiked, I can't find them for anywhere near that price anymore. Are they really $65? Well, I guess it just depends if people are willing to pay $65 for them. If they do, yeah, then the card's going to be worth this. Perhaps, though, the next group of sales are a little bit under this. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, and if you stuck to the end, if you're still here, I appreciate you. Thanks for being with me. Also, as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.